Shunnyavadi Pastimes Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Be a Gardener series. We welcome all the devotees from all over the world who have joined this session. We have an exciting session today, but first we will start with His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu. Vaisheshika Prabhu needs no introduction, but I just want to share one thing. I recently was in an all-hands meeting at our company, and one of the top leaders have said that as the terrain changes, there are a lot of challenges that comes up. And whenever these challenges comes up, she gets very excited because all these challenges will become opportunities for her to learn and grow. I was thinking we have been through a lot of things last year, COVID and everything, but His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu have taught us to take all of those challenges as opportunities. And the result has been that we distributed 2 million Bhagavad Gitas worldwide. So today we are fortunate to hear from Prabhu about distributing Shri Caitanya Caritamrita. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Malini. Thank you so much. I offer my obeisances to all the devotees here. Vancha kalpadurvishcha, kripa sindhabevacha, patitanam pavanibhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I must say, all my favorite devotees. Thank you very much for being here. I mean, who else would get on a call about the Caitanya Caritamrita and wanting to distribute it throughout the world? It's a rare group here. And I thank you very much for your association, because you're who I want to be with. Those who love Caitanya Caritamrita, as did Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, as did our Srila Prabhupada, who took so much trouble to render it into English and get it printed and get it on trains. It's so hard to print a book. Prabhupada used to say that when I publish one book, I feel as if I have conquered an empire. And when the Caitanya Caritamrita was published, it was a Herculean effort. Actually, it was impossible, but he made the impossible possible because of his will. And that's how the Sankirtan movement goes on. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has his own will, and he expresses it, and that's what makes the universe go. Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. Krishna is in every atom, and it's by his will that we're being sustained right now. It's not that the creation happens and then it all just goes on by itself. No, he's there as a musician is playing music, and it's pervasive, and it's his will that keeps everything in play. And when we can harmonize with his will, then our lives become not just perfect, but extraordinary. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most extraordinary of all the manifestations of Krishna. I mean, Krishna in and of himself, if you count all the grains of sand and every star in the sky, you'll never come, you may be able to do that through some algorithm, says Brahma, but you'll never be able to count the qualities of Krishna. But then you have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Krishna and Radharani combined. What are you going to do with that? You're going to distribute it to the world, because that's amazing. And it's so esoteric that, yes, it goes over the head of 99.9% of the people in the world, even in our movement. I mean, how many people have read Caitanya Caritamrita? I even know, people who come from very high backgrounds in South India. It's like, I know Krishna, but I don't know this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm not sure, because he's so enigmatic. So this is a sacred duty we're embarked upon here. I mean, this is amazing what we're doing. One driving fact is Srila Prabhupada wanted this. I mean, he wanted it so much that he called all the GBCs in the world and asked them to come to Los Angeles in 1975. Why? He wanted to make a statement. And that was, I want the Caitanya Caritamrita published now. And they said, sure, Prabhupada, we'll get it done in the next couple of years. Prabhupada said, no, now means 2 months. Prabhupada, that's impossible. Prabhupada, impossible's a word only in a fool's dictionary. And that's how Malini said in the beginning, we get a pandemic and we say, it's impossible. And then we say, well, we've got Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's our life as book distributors. That's our life as pushing the Sankirtan movement. We don't know how it's happening, but we do know one thing: the will of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there with us. And that's what we live for. That's why we do this. We challenge ourselves so that we can feel his will. We know we're being moved by him, not by some other, not by our own ahankar. I'm not moving it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is moving it. This is self-realization in action. That's why book distribution is high sadhana. So the Caitanya Caritamrita. Let me just read you just a tiny little excerpt. This is what we're giving people. Listen to this. Just open up anywhere and listen to this information that's being poured out into the world versus CNN or any of this other stuff that is simply fear-mongering, meant to put people in perpetual anxiety so they'll buy more antidepressants. Prabhupada writes, the residents of Vaikuntha have brilliantly black complexions, much more fascinating and attractive than the dull white and black complexions found in the material world. Their bodies, being spiritual, have no equals in this material world. The beauty of a bright cloud, when lightning flashes on it, merely hints of their beauty. Generally, the inhabitants of Vaikuntha dress in yellow clothing. Their bodies are delicate and attractively built, and their eyes are like the petals of lotus flowers. Like Lord Vishnu, the residents of Vaikuntha have 4 hands decorated with a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. Their chests are beautifully broad and fully decorated with necklaces of a brilliant diamond-like metal, surrounded by costly jewels never to be found in the material world. The residents of Vaikuntha are always powerful and effulgent. Some of them have complexions like red coral cat's eyes and lotus flowers, and each of them has earrings of costly jewels. On their heads, they wear flowery crowns resembling garlands. You're not going to hear it anywhere else. And if you don't hear it, then we have to hear this information. People in the world have to understand the detail of the spiritual world in order to be attracted to it. And you only get it in these transcendental literatures, the Shri Caitanya Caritamrita. So a couple of points. Sometimes we wonder, so this book is so esoteric, barely the devotees in ISKCON read it. How are we going to give it to the barber down the street? So first of all, books are undeniable. I had this experience the other day. We just published a new, at long last, Bhagavad Gita in Japan. It was a huge struggle, and we finally got it done, one in a paperback and one in hardback. And the devotees sent me a copy of each. It landed on my very doorstep in a brown paper package. I didn't know what it was at first because we get a lot of packages here. I went and opened it, and my hair stood on end. And I had this thought: this is an undeniable object. It has arrived at my doorstep. Now I have to deal with it. What am I going to do with this book? I have to put it somewhere. I have to read it. I have to do something. It takes so much thought to put a book together. And once that thoughtfulness is combined into a physical object and then sent out into the environment, wherever it lands, somebody somewhere has to deal with it. And in dealing with that, if it's a transcendental book, it changes everything. And that's why Prabhupada said, these are like bombs. He said, shower them everywhere. Let them come down. The bombs, at least in the old days, people just drop them. They didn't care where they landed. Drop them on everybody during wartime, defeat the enemy. And so just know for a fact that these books are undeniable and they have their effect. There is some mantra that, what effect will these books have? This is not accurate. This is not a real mantra. It's not based on reality. Every book that lands somewhere has its effect because books are undeniable. You cannot deny a book. It has its effect somewhere on someone, and it will drill down. It lasts. People barely ever throw out books because they're undeniable. Humans have an aversion to throwing books away. It's very difficult to do. So the next point is, we're distributing Shri Caitanya Caritamrita for posterity. Posterity, post, means for the future. Remember, Bhaktivinoda Thakur couldn't find one. We never want that to happen ever again. It's our duty to make sure there are so many Caitanya Caritamritas all over the earth, whether people are presently reading them or not, but they're extant, they're available. And it'll never be an issue that where is a Caitanya Caritamrita? It's available on every continent and every language. And the information about the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's come as the combined form of Radha Krishna to give the highest conception of love of Godhead, the most refined conception, whether people understand it right now or not, will be available. It's our duty. We have to make sure it goes out everywhere in mass quantities. That was Prabhupada's idea. When he printed it, the devotees confirmed with him, do you want this for mass distribution? And he wanted huge quantities. And when the first came out, it was 19 volumes. He wanted 20,000 of each. That's a lot of books. That's train loads full of books. That's what Prabhupada's vision was. So that can be our vision too. There's no harm at all in aligning our vision and mood with Srila Prabhupada's. Do you agree? No harm in that, right? That's why we're here. So books change people from the inside out. And when people start to read the Shri Caitanya Caritamrita, then their conception of life will be, the scripts that they're running inside will be amended so that they can actually take advantage of the real purpose of life. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is like nectar, and the Shri Caitanya Caritamrita is like some camphor added to that nectar. The two of them together make ambrosia. I mean, have you ever been to somebody's house and they have a Bhagavatam but no Caitanya Caritamrita? Don't you feel a little bit anxious and just like, what happened to the rest of it? You're supposed to have the Bhagavatam and the Caitanya Caritamrita. Any place where anybody's a follower of Srila Prabhupada, following his thought process and the way he moved in the world, they have his books in their house. So they have both things, not just Bhagavatam, but also the Caitanya Caritamrita. They go together. And this is the statement in the Caitanya Caritamrita itself. Actually, the Caitanya Caritamrita is the Bhagavatam. It's the choices verses from the Bhagavatam strung together on a garland. And that garland is being worn around the necks of the Panchatattva. And they're showing how to live the Bhagavatam. So we have the most sacred duty, the devotees on this call and whoever's listening to this afterwards, who's a little bit interested in distributing Caitanya Caritamrita, you are the most fortunate people in the universe. And I'll reiterate why. Because you're following Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted this. You're following the acharyas. You're in the company of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who looked all over the earth to find the Caitanya Caritamrita and say, where is this book? I have to have it. Can you imagine? Can you enter into his desire? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who said, if all other books in the world slide off into the ocean, but the Caitanya Caritamrita is left over, No problem. And our Srila Prabhupada, who is so anxious to have this book available to the whole world, incited a marathon like the likes of which we've never seen in our movement before to get this printed. That is painting all the paintings. He sent photographers to India to take pictures to make up for some of the paintings they couldn't do in time. They had people going around the clock to make this happen. And then he said, get it out there to the whole world. So this is the most lined up you can be in Krishna consciousness. And the book distribution movement is a life. This is the life of the Sankirtan movement, this taking risks for Lord Chaitanya and risking one's own peace of mind to make sure that this happens. This is real responsibility. It's real management. It's real leadership. So I thank you all very much for taking this so seriously. And, Ananya, thank you. She's getting on the phone selling multiple sets of Caitanya Caritamrita to people just by the power of her conviction. She reads it, she listens to it, and then she'll call people up and say, you should read it too. And that's all Lord Chaitanya asks us to do. So we can follow in her footsteps and make sure this happens. Thank you very much. Gaur Premanande Haribo.
Thank you so much, Vaisheshika Prabhu. That was such a powerful message that now we have to get these bombs out everywhere. Now we'll hear some practical tips on how these Caitanya Caritamritas are being distributed within different parts of the world. First, we would like to hear from His Grace Shastakrit Prabhu, who was originally from Los Angeles. He was the expert in distributing Bhagavatam sets and Caitanya Caritamrita sets, and now is based off of Atlanta. So Prabhu, please enlighten us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anchakalpadarbhyasya kripa sindhuvya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So nice to hear Vaisheshika Prabhu speak. I have all this. I have signed up for Fan the Spark and ISV and BBT and like this. Anytime Prabhu speaks, is Mukhya Prasada. Every word that comes out of his mouth is so meaningful and fun and examples. So I'm so honored to be on this call. I'm always listening in the background, but thank you, Malini Mataji, for including me. So while Prabhu was speaking, this came to mind how Prabhupada said Caitanya Caritamrita is the real Bengali sweet. Like Vaisheshika Prabhu wrote this book, Family Business, and my wife bakes all these nice desserts for our cafe. So every time we're handing out sweets, cakes, and cinnamon rolls, people are like so excited to try it. So Prabhupada said Caitanya Caritamrita is the real Bengali sweet. So in a sense, we're in the line of distributing sweets. So distributing Caitanya Caritamrita in a sense is as easy as distributing a Bhagavad Gita. Yes, like when we distribute Srimad Bhagavatam, which we are all doing and we have done. So it's like heavy lifting. When we distribute Bhagavatam, it's in a sense it's more difficult. Once we are used to distributing Bhagavatam, Caitanya Caritamrita distribution is much easier. Much easier in the sense it's very easy to transport, and it's like half of the amount of books. You're showing somebody 18 volumes of books and you're able to convince them to take. And these 9 thin volumes of books, that's much easier. And pretty much when I'm on the street, like Prabhu was saying, how do you distribute this to a barber down the street? Like, they don't know anything about anything. They pretty much will buy whatever, we are convinced about. They don't know anything. I could say the same thing about devotees. Ask me, like, how do you distribute a Krishna book? Or how do you distribute a nectar of devotion? How do you distribute a Caitanya Caritamrita? Pretty much I say the same thing. I say this is like thousands of years old wisdom, and they talk about the philosophy behind yoga and meditation. Yoga is just not stretching. It's got a deep meaning and philosophy behind it. And it talks about all the, it gives solutions to all the craziness is happening in the world, and how the material happiness has a peak and decline. But, this is spiritual happiness, which the yogis practiced, which will fulfill our heart, and is the happiness of the soul. And things like this, I can say that about any of Srila Prabhupada books. And mostly, like, I'm meeting African Americans, and they love it, and they're happily willing to take it. And Caitanya Caritamrita is also very affordable. Like, people give nice, generous donation when you give them, like, in the mood of giving. Like, I have all these little snippets from Vaisheshika Prabhu's classes that I use my recorder to record from his classes, where he makes the point, don't worry, be a spiritual entrepreneur, and Krishna will back you up. Lord Chaitanya will back you up. So I have so many of these little things. Sometimes we get on the mental platform and worry about so many material things, where we hold back from letting the books go. It's like one time in San Diego, I was with my Guru Maharaj in a home program, and somebody asked him a question saying, like, oh, it's nowadays this Srila Prabhupada books are hard for people to understand, and it's not relevant. And he got a little disturbed, and he said, it's your mental platform. And he gave the example of Vaisheshika Prabhu. He said, my God brother Vaisheshika Prabhu, he puts on these shoes with the wheels. I don't know what they call them, like, and he, like, goes up to people skating and shakes their hand and a big smile and gives them a stack of books, and, presents the books, and they take home and they read the books. So he told them, this devotee that asked the question, get off the mental platform and distribute the books. Books are going out, and people will read them, and people will understand. And he also made the point, let it be between Krishna and the individual soul. You don't judge. So if we are not on the mental platform, and like Vaisheshika Prabhu always says, like, we have to have habit of reading the books, then we'll be inspired. I also notice whatever books I'm reading, Krishna makes arrangement for the books to go out, that specific book to go out. Or if I have in my book table, like one Bhaktin that came to me in my book table, and I was trying to distribute a set, didn't happen. But then when she came and she had her canto with her, and she was explaining to me how she is loving the third canto, and all of a sudden, like, Bhagavatam sets start going out because she is reading it. And when Prabhu was explaining how we should always have Bhagavatam and Caitanya Caritamrita, I'm guilty myself, because I had a set of Bhagavatam displayed and Caitanya Caritamrita displayed, but on the appearance of Advaita Acharya, somebody happened to just go up to the bookshelf and take the Caitanya Caritamrita and ask, like, what is this? So I distributed the Caitanya Caritamrita, and I have ordered, I'm expecting like about 20 sets to come any day now, maybe tomorrow. So my goal is to distribute them all for Gaura Purnima. So what I'm saying is, it's actually very easy to distribute Caitanya Caritamrita, especially Westerners love to take books as well. Again, my focus is mainly I'm distributing books to Western audience. My Guru Maharaj wanted me to focus on the locals, not just like to the Desi community, and they love it, especially if they've gotten a Gita from you and they've received a Bhagavatam from you, and they come to an event or they're reading any of the books. It's so easy to give them a Chaitanya Charitamrita set. Like Prabhu was mentioning in just earlier, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, when there was a flood in Calcutta, he was speaking during the flood in Calcutta during his time, and he mentioned how if there was a pralaya, if there was a final devastation, and everything is drowning, and you're like basically like struggling to swim for your life. Bhaktisiddhanta explained, Saraswati Thakur explained that imagine you're only allowed to take 3 books with you: Gita, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And you're struggling with 3 books, for your life and swimming, and you got to let go of a book. Okay, let go of the Gita. And again, you're swimming, you're struggling. And if you have to let go, unfortunately, of another book, he said, okay, let go of Bhagavatam. But he said, never let go of Chaitanya Charitamrita. No matter what, don't let go of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Even in his free time, Bhaktisiddhanta would always read Chaitanya Charitamrita. So when we give these examples, like for example, recently we had Nityananda Trayodasi and Advaita Acharya, where like I was teaching the Panchatattva mantra to the newcomers, and we were singing some bhajans and like that. So when people ask questions, perfect opportunity to give them a Chaitanya Charitamrita set. Like I said, it's very affordable. It's not that many books, and it's very attractive. If you just display them, people always go to these golden books. And one example comes to mind is people ask the difference between Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's interesting because you all probably notice most Indians even don't know the difference between Gita and Bhagavatam. All day long we're explaining what is a Bhagavatam, what is a Gita, what to speak of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So some Western guests or devotees ask, so I try to make it simple for them. I just tell them like, Chaitanya Charitamrita is the Supreme Personality of Godhead coming in the role of a devotee and showing us how to be a devotee, Bhakta Avatar. Prabhupada also gives this example, just like even if you were to give a nutritious meal to a newborn, or he or she cannot digest. But if the mother eats the lunch and if she transforms into the breast milk, then the baby can digest the milk and get all the vitamins and whatever he or she needs to grow. Similarly, Chaitanya Charitamrita is like the pre-digested mercy of the acharyas and the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, Sri Krishna, in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where we are able to understand this deep Vedic knowledge in a very accessible form. How they took prasad, how they did kirtan, how they cleaned, and how they chanted, and how they celebrated festivals, and how to avoid Vaishnava aparad. And everything is illustrated just in a very sweet pastime. So like this, we kind of break it down for them and encourage them, like take it home, take it home, and the mercy of Panchatattva. We teach them Panchatattva mantra. You read, like even my sister, I was dropping her off after my daughter's birthday party at the airport, and she was saying, like, some things are hard to understand. I said, do you chant the Panchatattva mantra? And she said, what is the Panchatattva mantra? So I reminded her, I'm sure she knows. So we were chanting in the car together. So I always remind the guests, if you find these books difficult to understand, because they're just not ink on paper, they're revealed knowledge according to our attitude. Naham prakasya sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. Krishna doesn't reveal himself, but if we can chant the Panchatattva mantra, our offenses are cleared and we get extra mercy to be able to distribute the books, or whoever received the books, they will be able to read and understand. One last point I'll make. I know there's so many exalted devotees there. So one time, like 10 years ago, during the ILS meeting, I was serving my Guru Maharaj, my mother and I. We were serving Devamrita Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj, and Vaisheshika Prabhu kindly came for lunch. And during that time, I was living in Los Angeles Temple, and the temple president there, His Grace Savas Prabhu, had a goal to distribute 150 Bhagavatam sets and 75 Caitanya Caritamrita sets. So when Vaisheshika Prabhu and my Guru Maharaj were inquiring about book distribution, so I mentioned to them how we have this goal, we have this marathon coming up, where we have to distribute, our goal is to distribute Bhagavatams 150 and 75 Chaitanya Charitamrita as a temple, as a community. And they both in unison, they said, you alone can do that. So I felt like I received a little mercy right there, empowerment from two great Vaishnavas, empowered disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Along with the instructions of a saintly person comes the empowerment to be able to carry out the order. So I still remember this to this day. All the credit and glories goes to these senior devotees who are training us and encouraging us. 2 million Bhagavad Gitas. This is like amazing. I was saying to my sister, I was playing some of the snippets of Vaisheshika Prabhu to my sister, how to be patient. Tat kale, how everything will come in time. We just have to do our part. So I guess I'll stop here. I get too excited. So yes, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. I mean, thank you for sharing. And then you said that how Chaitanya Caritamrita distribution is easier than distributing Bhagavatam. Wow, that was so encouraging. And thank you for sharing all your experiences. I'm sure everybody's excited to go and distribute more sets. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have a wonderful devotee, the ISV Sankirtan leader, His Grace Shri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu. And Prabhu has been distributing Bhagavatam's Chaitanya Charitamrita sets anywhere and everywhere for the last decade or so. So you're so excited to hear from Prabhu. Thank you so much, Shri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Vancha Kalpataru, Bescha Krupa Sindhu, Vayevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, my topic is just to discuss about the Chaitanya Charitamrita, how to distribute, how we are distributing at ISV. Many years ago, 8 years ago, we used to distribute book packets to houses, and also we started after that Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is very easy, so to at least any Indians, they can tell the stories about Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, all the stories. But we don't know how to do Chaitanya Caritamrita. As Shastrakrit Prabhu was mentioning, it's easy because it's a small and 9 books, not 18 books. Then we are about to knock a door, and there's a goal we have to distribute, I think, 15 Chaitanya Charitamrita sets. That's the first time. And then we are knocking the door, and I called Vaisheshika Prabhu. Prabhu, we don't know how to do it in the car. From the car, we called him, and he said, Prabhu said it's the same thing. How you do Srimad Bhagavatam, you just glorify Chaitanya Charitamrita and follow the same steps. So then by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu backing up, we knocked the first door, and he took the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And whatever I learned is today we are speaking. We all learned, especially I'm in ISV, and Vaisheshika Prabhu from like last 12 years, he's taught us how to do, including POY and also perfection of yoga, and starting from there to Chaitanya Charitamrita. So and somebody asked how to distribute over the phone. So what we do is we have a calling list. We are taking going from 2015, 2016, 2017, like who are invested for Janmashtami, who came to our temple. So we pick up the phone call, and then just make a first starting call, and say, okay, 2 years ago you got Bhagavatam, so we are calling again, and we introduce ourselves. We are from ISKCON Silicon Valley, and we have a project called Matsya project, Go Matsya. That Matsya means we to establish our Sanatan Dharma, we distributing these books, and they definitely most of them as easy means they're all Indians, so we call them, and then usually I compare with Chaitanya Charitamrita with Ramayana. Like we have Balakanda, Yuddhakanda, Ayodhyakanda, and like that we say Adi Leela, Madhya Leela, Anta Leela. So then, okay, there is, then they as also Shastri Prabhu mentioned, they don't know what is difference between Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but what to think of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we explain these steps, okay, when Mahaprabhu went to South India, he was in his middle age pastimes. So he went to Srirangam, he went to Ahobilam, all these places we mentioned. So they will be very happy to hear those names. I have an example. One time I was distributing books with Vaisheshika Prabhu, and we knocked one door, and he is from Mathura. And Prabhu told a few street names in Vrindavan, and then immediately said, okay, I'll take the books. I said, I went and asked him, what you like? Prabhu didn't talk about any philosophies. No. He told my street name. That's a beauty of, if you read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada in the purports, he mentioned a railway station name where it is stopped, and so all the very minute details. And you just mentioned a small topic from there, and the people will be very happy just to receive Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think when you talk to them in their language, or when you talk to them in English, it goes to their heart. When you talk to them in their language, it goes to their mind. So same thing when you talk about Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, you talk, even if you don't know Bengali, you just show them the pictures, and I always show, you have a book in hand. So we show the pictures. If it is a Zoom call, you can talk about the beautiful pastimes of Sakshi Gopal, and also where Mahaprabhu spent his pastimes. And 2 days ago, I was talking to one person. He's from Kerala. Then I mentioned to him that okay, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Adikeshav Perumal temple. That's in South India and Kerala, and where he hand copied the Brahma Samhita and the Krishna Karnamrita. And hand copied is not easy, I told him. So he copied these books, and he traveled back, and then given this knowledge to all the souls, you can say that. So that's why Chaitanya Charitamrita is if we follow our family business book, and Prabhu clearly mentioned the steps, any book, it's the same thing. We have the same message to distribute. And yesterday we were able to distribute around five Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita sets over the phone call, and it is working out. As Prabhu mentioned in our first videos, that when pandemic started, it says burn the ships, so this is the new normal. And as Shastrikit Prabhu said, all the snippets, we just take it, and this is the new normal. There is no, we are going back, and we have to distribute wherever we are and however we can. So and also a few more tips how to distribute Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and we also tell that Mahaprabhu is biography. And if they are, for example, if they belongs to any origin, like Gujarat, we talk about Narsi Mehta. If they are you can just read in online, like saints of India. So, and then you can connect with them when you distribute Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's very easy, so that they know what you are speaking. And then 500 years ago, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared as Radha Krishna incarnation, and then he spread this message of the holy name of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra chanting, and he is our Parama Guru. So like that, and based on that, how you can distribute it. And we actually, in our ISV, we distributed even to people, Muslims took Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Baraka, or in African Muslim, I think Shraddha Mataji, she given Chaitanya Charitamrita, and even in the streets they distributed, and it's very beautiful. And I'll do a tip that Vaisheshika Prabhu, when they knocked the door and he asked me to put SKP, just put the set like this, like a 9 sets. See how beautiful it is. It's a golden books. so and people really, even it's over the phone call, you can place these books on the Zoom, and then you can show how wonderful these books are. And you'll get Sri Mahaprabhu blessings, and you get the backup of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is backing up. And distributing last year 108 Chaitanya Charitamrita we distributed at ISV. And we every year, when I talk to Malini Mataji, every year we think how we can do this. And then we have backup of Vaisheshika Prabhu, and Prabhu also joins our calls, and guide us in all the steps, however we do it. And then this is very important, that don't be discouraged. We make continuous phone calls. We knock 50 doors. Maybe 3 people will be interested to take Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'll tell you one more incident. One time I was distributing Chaitanya Charitamrita. Initially, Malini Mataji and their team went, and they knocked at the door, and they went, and they thought that he's not they're very right people, and they gave Bhagavatam set to him. And then we went after maybe 1 hour, 2 hours later, and then we knocked the door, and then we asked, okay, there's somebody is already here, but anyway, you came, and please come inside. And we went inside, and then we talked about, okay, you got Bhagavatam, why can't you take Chaitanya Charitamrita? And they said, oh, this is great, and like a PhD study, right, as Srila Prabhupada mentions. And they took Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this happens all the time, so we just need to be like, as Vaisheshika Prabhu says, we touch the pavement and then come back. And there is a button here. We just turn off that switch, and then we just make the phone calls. If they take it or not, it's up to Krishna, right? So that's the mood we have to go. And as I said, this mood is always there with when we go on. Prabhu trained us like that, and be in a humble state and distribute books. With this last pastime, I'll just end the call. End my talk. Where we went, I think in Foster City. First time I was with Vaisheshika Prabhu and also Devamrut Maharaj, and we are knocking the doors, and I was thinking how we can distribute this Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then we end up knocking my manager at my work, we knocked his door. And then he opened it, and, oh, why you are here? I said, there are two saintly persons with me. And then he invited us home. And then I was thinking in my mind how fortunate this person is that meet great saintly people like Vaisheshika Prabhu and Devamrit Maharaj. Anyway, we showed the books to him. And then at the time, he said, he gave some small, very small donation. Then Prabhu said, this is a karma coming back. So you are serving him in the office. Now you are giving books in the house. They're like that. The everything, whatever we do, we just pray to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It will become very easy, right? All the difficult things will become easy. Whatever goal you are setting up, 108 sets, please, as Prabhu says, raise the bar above. So raise it, and you will be in a challenging position. But it's not we are doing it, it's Mahaprabhu is doing it. Mahaprabhu will definitely helps us to distribute many sets. And when we go out on the streets or on the phone call, first time one person took a Perfection of Yoga book, and next year we went, he took Bhagavad Gita, and third year we went, he is the same place and his kids are studying, and third year we went, he took Bhagavatam. Fourth year we went Caitanya Caritamrita. Fifth year he took Vaisheshika Prabhu said, give him the Gaur Nitai Dittis, and we gave him Gaur Nitai Dittis. So it's like, Mahaprabhu within your heart will empower you to distribute Chaitanya Caritamrita. I'll stop here, and there is a flip chart. Malini Mataji, if you have that in hand. So generally you can carry that. It's a printout. You can take it with you. The kids will be presenting about this printout, and it's very easy that when you show these pictures to them, they'll be so very happy and excited. And especially Chaitanya Charitamrita, even for women, I'll say, okay, there is a lot of cooking things there. It's like a cookbook. You can read it. So it's wonderful just to keep it at home and distribute to all others. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Shri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu, for sharing such wonderful experiences that you had door to door. And it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. If you can find something about them in the Caitanya Caritamrita, that's all you need to know. So thank you so much for sharing that. Next, we have an exciting presentation by the kids of ISV. And first, I would like to introduce Her Grace Kameshwari Devidasi, who is leading the Kids Sankirtan team for a decade now. She has figured out the formula on how to process all the information that we get and make it in a way that kids can use it. And she has been doing this successfully here at ISV for many, many years. And the kids now distribute, like they take about 20 to 25% of the goal at ISV. Thank you so much, Kameshwari. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, Malini. So, Kids Sankirtan at ISV is deeply inspired by Vaisheshika Prabhu's nurturing the kids, and he gives personal time to them. So, after his inspiration, I would say the parents who are supporting the kids, that's very, very important. They are always by the side of the kids, and they are making this opportunity available for the kids. Kids used to go door to door definitely, and it used to be a lot of fun. And but since pandemic started and Vaisheshika has shown the way for the online Sankirtan, they are trying this online Sankirtan also, and they are making an effort. It became a little slow in the beginning, but they made a sincere effort, and they are making the contribution. I wouldn't take much time. I'll share one experience about distributing Chaitanya Caritamrita. When we went door to door Sankirtan, one of the person, he said that, okay, this is a biography of Chaitanya. How about I make my own biography, and why can't we sell that? And I remember Shweka was there, Shweka, Advait, Aname, and the kids said, Yad Yad Acharati Shreshtas. And then they said that, so they said that, Lord, the great people, when they set an example, the whole world follows, and a common person follows. So we look at the good examples. If a common person makes his own biography, um, it may be confusing if he doesn't know all the best of the things. And they answered in their own words, and it was really inspiring. And then he said, okay, all right, you're asking me to take these 9 books. Have you read it? And Aname is there. Aname was just 12-year-olds that time. And he said, yes, I have read it. And actually, Aname has read Caitanya Caritamrita twice by that age. And it was genuine. It was genuine. And when he answered that, then the person was really impressed. And he said, don't mind me, I was just testing you guys. And he took the Caitanya Caritamrita, he gave the donation. He really encouraged the children for their effort. So kids are very spontaneous. They are sincere. They're reading. They're reading regularly, and that's what comes out very well in their presentations. Now, I will quickly introduce all the kids that we have over here. There's a huge team at ISV, and the kids that are present here, they're just a small group presenting all of them. We have Balaram. He's 16-year-old, and if everybody can, if they can be pinned when I'm talking, so they can say Hare Krishna. So Balaram is 16-year-old, but he is graduating already from college, and he loves coding. He's studying computer science. He's homeschooled, and he's our support. He's really big support in our team. Then we have Vrinda. She is in 11th grade, and she's a flutist. She's expert flute player, and she's very quiet. But when it comes to Sankirtan, she opens up. She's very good. And when we used to go out, she always kept the books count. She always kept the statistics of how much we took, how much was remaining. She always did that very expertly. And then we have Abhiji. Abhiji is 9th grade. He is also a flutist, and he is a very expert Caitanya. He sings Carnatic and beautiful Kirtan. He is very eloquent in speaking Telugu. He glorifies Bhagavatam, Caitanya Caritamrita in Telugu language, and everybody just takes it so happily. South Indian people take very happily when they hear Telugu glorification. And he loves studying science. Then we have Gita Priya. Gita Priya is 7th grade. She's very spontaneous. She sings sweet Kirtan, and she loves doing Kirtan for her deities every day using harmonium. And I remember when she used to come book distribution when very young. She used to keep count of all the Lakshmi. She would carry a small bag, and she would be there, collecting all the Lakshmi. And then we have Advait, and Advait is in 9th grade. He loves playing Mridanga and violin, and he is also likes distributing books, and he likes history. He likes studying history, and then after that we have Aname. So Aname, we just heard about him. He's an avid reader. He has read Caitanya Caritamrita. He's also 9th grade. He read Caitanya Caritamrita twice. Probably he already finished. He's on his 3rd reading or completed probably. And he's an expert when it comes to quoting from the Shastras. He has done a lot of reading. And just by showing him that, he has read Caitanya Caritamrita, we distributed so many Caitanya Caritamrita. And then I hope I covered everybody. And then we have Ananya, who is just 9-year-old, and we will have her. We'll hear from her own experience about distributing Caitanya Caritamrita after the kids' presentation through the slides. Now, the presentation that kids are making, it's in the form of a conversation. So one of the Abhiji will make a call to Balaram, and Balaram will act like a distant friend, and then Abhijit will present as a volunteer team of ISV, and then we will see their conversation and presentation. So Abhijit, over to you.
Yes, Mataji. Hey,
Hi.
Balaram.
Hi. Hi, Abhijit.
It's been pretty long. Are you up for a small presentation I prepared for you? It's pretty interesting. Won't take pretty long.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
Can you
we can
send me
just
the-
yeah, I'll send you
Okay.
the we can just hop on a Zoom call.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm here with my friends from ISV. Yeah. We're doing a presentation on Caitanya Caritamrita, as I said. It's in an act to preserve the Vedas, which are the old scriptures in our culture. And due to the influence of time, they've been lost to history. And the Vedas, if we try to bring them back in the form they are today, it's going to be very hard for people in the modern day to understand, because such a vast base of knowledge, and it can get like even kind of intimidating to try to interpret it. So we're bringing it back in the form of the cream of the Vedas, which we call the Caitanya Caritamrita. And this act of reviving the Vedas through Chaitanya Caritamrita, we call the Go Matsya Project. It's named after an incarnation of Krishna, who very long ago saved the Vedas themselves from destruction. And we're just doing our small part, our service in reviving the Vedas. And we've named this project after Matsya Avatar. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is essentially the life history of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's said by some of our great teachers that even if we've lost every book, even if we have this Chaitanya Charitamrita, we can revive civilization. So, like this.
That sounds very interesting. Yeah. I would love to hear more about it if you have.
Yeah. So it was written by someone named Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami when he was in his 100 years old, by the request of many devotees. And he learned the life history of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from one of his disciples, Jagannath Das Goswami. And he wrote it for all to understand. And it's written very beautifully.
So as you can see on the slide, this is Advaita Acharya. And so you may be wondering, why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come to this earth? Well, he came to this earth because of Advaita Acharya. Although Advaita Acharya was a very powerful personality, he wanted Krishna himself. He wanted Krishna to come and preach in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy. He read in the scriptures that if you worship a Shalikam Shila with Ganga water and Tulsi leaves, you automatically earn the favor of the Lord. So Advaita Acharya did exactly that. And Krishna being in debt to him came down to this world.
I see. You've talked about this personality Chaitanya a lot. I've never actually heard of him. Is he like an avatar, like Krishna or Rama? I'm not too sure if you could explain a little more.
Yeah, so that's a good question, Balaram. So the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is predicted in many scriptures, such as the Samaveda, Vishnu Sahasranam, Srimad Bhagavatam, and many more. He isn't really well known because he's actually the Channa avatar, or the hidden incarnation. So, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on this earth 500 years ago. He's actually Krishna himself, but he came here in the guise of his own devotee. He came to teach devotional service to Krishna by his personal life and examples, but he also came because he genuinely cares about us. If you see, there are a lot of people affected by troublesome qualities such as lust, anger, greed, and many more. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission was to transform these qualities into something sublime.
Wow, how did he transform those people? That seems almost impossible.
Well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did this by inaugurating the Sankirtan movement, which is congregational chanting of the holy name. The holy name is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This mantra purifies the heart, is the key to self-realization and our direct connection to Krishna. He never put any restrictions on the holy name, such as, oh, you need to be a certain age to chant this, or oh, you need to have read a certain amount of books to chant the holy name. This holy name is meant for everybody and anybody.
Wow, that was very interesting to hear. I'd actually want to hear a little more about him, maybe like his life story and his mission, especially and what he did over here.
Yeah, so as I said, the Caitanya Caritamrita, it's like a life sketch of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He lived for 48 years in total, and the books are split into 3 main parts, Adi, Madhya, and Antya, each meaning first, middle, and ending parts. So in the Adi, it's explained how he was born, how he grew up, and how he was schooled, all the way until he was 24 years old. And the Madhya Lila, it describes how he left his home and when traveling and preaching knowledge all across India. And the Antya Lila explains how he settled down in Jagannath Puri in East India. And it explains how all of his activities occurred until he left this world. So while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling across India, as Gita Priya said, he never placed any restrictions on anyone. He gave out knowledge freely to everyone. And there's this one interesting story. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he met a Brahmana in South India who was weeping profusely about an occurrence in one scripture, the Ramayana. So you may have heard of this scripture. You may have a general idea of what it is. It's like similar to Chaitanya Caritamrita. It's like the biography of Rama. And there's this one interesting part. So essentially the Brahmana was weeping because he thought like the act of Ravana taking Sita away was so cruel and horrid. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came up to this Brahmana and said, "Fear not, this is not the real Sita. This is a Maya Sita given to Rama by Agni Dev simply to finish his Leela." At the ending of Ramayana, Sita went back into a fire and Agni Dev gave back the real Sita to Rama while Maya Sita had disappeared. So you can see like the Chaitanya Caritamrita, it also expands on many other scriptures, and they learned some intricate details which I'd never known before from reading this. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also instructed his go to the holy places and establish their greatness again, as they had been lost to the influence of time. So once one of Krishna's leelas, when he was a young boy, was eating lunch with his many friends in the beautiful forest area. And Brahma once, he tried to test the Lord's power and abducted all of his friends from this one place in the forest. And this place in the forest had been lost. If the Goswamis hadn't excavated it, it'd have probably been lost forever. So they excavated this holy place and established temples, as you can see, to establish their greatness. And they did it in many other places. So I feel very grateful to these great personalities.
Everything you've said up till now has been so magical and fascinating to hear that I actually want to know what's your favorite part of the book, or what are your favorite stories that are in this book?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, Balram. The stories are actually what I like the best about the Chaitanya Caritamrita, just because they motivate me to keep reading because of how interesting the stories are. One of my favorite stories is the story of Madavendrapuri. Over 500 years ago, there is a great saint named Madavendrapuri who happened to be visiting Odisha. He went to take darshan of the Gopinath Didi there, and he saw a pot of kheer being offered, and he was thinking, what if I could taste it?
to know how to cook it for my own deity at home. And immediately he thought, what have I done? What sin have I committed wanting to taste bhoga that hasn't yet been offered to the Lord? And he went away very dejected, thinking, I should have never lusted over this prasadam, or this bhoga rather, that was supposed to be offered to the Lord. And later that night, Gopinath came in the dreams of one of his pujaris and said, there's one very great man named Madavendrapuri, and I have actually hid a pot of kheer just for him. So please go find him and give him this pot of kheer. The pujari gets this pot of kheer and he calls out, Madavendrapuri, Madavendrapuri, Gopinath has personally hid a pot of kheer just for you. And how fortunate you are to have the Lord personally steal a pot of kheer for you. And Madavendrapuri feels very blessed, and he's very blissful, very ecstatic. It's said that he not only eats the kheer given to him, but he also eats the pot that it came in. Hence, Gopinath getting the name Kirichor Gopinath, or the Gopinath who stole kheer. This is one of my favorite stories. And these stories are really what bring the Caitanya Caritamrita life. Another one of my favorite stories is the story of Sakshi Gopal. There's two brahmanas who were touring around India. One was older and one was younger. And naturally, the older one needed more care. And so the younger brahmana served the older brahmana very, very well on their pilgrimages. And they stopped at Vrindavan after a while as a route on their pilgrimage. And the older brahmana was talking to the younger brahmana saying, you've served me so well over this whole pilgrimage. I want to offer you my daughter in marriage. The younger brahmana said, no, I'm only doing this as a servant of Krishna. I don't need any reward for my actions. And besides, I know your family is very educated and rich, and I might not have the same standing. So, are you really sure about this? And the older brahmana says, of course, of course. And back then it was tradition to make any sort of blessing or oath in front of a deity. And so they went to Gopal deity of Vrindavan, and they made this promise of the daughter being given in marriage. And so after they finished their pilgrimage and they went back home, the older brahmana's family rejected this idea. They said, how can our daughter marry someone who's not educated and wealthy? This is totally a lie. And the older brahmana had to actually go lie to the younger brahmana and break his promise to Krishna, saying, I never offered my daughter in marriage. I don't know what you're talking about. And the younger brahmana pleads, we actually made this promise in front of the Gopal deity of Vrindavan. Please don't break your oath to him. I don't actually need the daughter in marriage. I just don't want you to incur any sin. The older brahmana said, if this Gopal deity you say we made an oath in front of can come here to stand witness, then I'll surely give you my daughter in marriage. So the younger brahmana goes and travels all the way back to Vrindavan to talk to this Gopal deity. He says, the older brahmana has went back on his oath and he's not giving me his daughter in marriage. Please help me. Please come back with me and stand witness. And the Gopal deity replies, I've never heard of a deity who can walk. I don't know how to come with you. And the younger brahmana had such strong conviction, and he said, if you can talk, you can definitely walk. So please come with me and please come back to our home village. And so the Gopal deity agreed, but on one condition. You can never look back at me. You'll only know that I'm following you by the sound of my anklets. So they journey all the way back to the home village. And the whole time, the young brahmana holds back the anticipation of looking back and seeing the actual form of Krishna who's moving behind him. He gets close enough to the village and he looks back on top of a hill. And there he sees the smiling form, the stone deity of Gopal, as if it never moved, as if it just came here. And he called all the village and all the families, and especially the family of the old brahmana. And they all saw that this Gopal deity is standing witness for the oath that the older brahmana made. And the daughter was given in marriage. And to this day, this Gopal deity stands here on this hill, and a temple has been constructed, and hence he has the name Sakshi Gopal. It's another one of my favorite stories because it really shows us that with the proper conviction in Krishna, anything can happen. He's not a stone deity, really. He's actually Krishna. Another one of my favorite parts of the Caitanya Caritamrita, one that I see a lot, are the pastimes of the Jagannath Yatra. It's mentioned many, many times because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived in Jagannathpuri for the later part of his life. And so many times he participated in the Jagannath Yatra. And this practice dates back hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's great to see it, in America and any country you can imagine that has a temple in it. We see it at the Yatra being organized. So it's great to see how these practices mentioned in the Caitanya Caritamrita have actually spread into a worldwide movement, all because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Wow, those stories are very interesting, and you described them so vividly and nicely. I could go on listening to you for hours. And I'm, seeing the presentation you guys made, it was so beautiful and it was so nice to listen to. I'm very keen on contributing to this project that you talked about at the beginning. Well, what should I do? How can I help?
So you asked a really good question. So Shri Chaitanya Caritamrita is a really good alternative for storybooks for kids because all the great lessons taught. So there are several examples of these. So one of the examples takes place in the Gundicha temple. So this is the temple where Lord Jagannath goes at the time of the Rath Yatra. So in this story, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you can see, he's cleaning the temple and he's with his entourage of hundreds of devotees. And it's surprising to see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he's the leader of so many devotees, he still painstakingly leads by example and cleans the whole temple by hand. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shows how to lead. He led by example. Another example is humility. So in this example of value education, takes place at the Jagannath Puri temple. So Lord Jagannath was giving darshan to his devotees. And in the back of the temple hall, there was an elderly lady who was unable to see Lord Jagannath. So what happened was she looked around for something to stand on so she could see Lord Jagannath. And she saw the Garuda Stamba. And this was at the back of the temple hall. So to stand on the Garuda Stamba, she stepped on Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And thereafter, she was able to see the Lord. In this story, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he shows humility, and that even though he's a supreme Lord, he shows compassion unto his devotee and humbly lets her stand on top of him. The last example takes place in the Jharkhand forest, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his South India tour. In this example, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was passing by this forest, and he saw many different animals, and he decided to be compassionate unto them, and chanted the holy names of the Lord, and danced with them for several hours. So all these values and stories that you've heard are written in the Shri Chaitanya Caritamrita. And the physical copy of Shri Chaitanya Caritamrita contains 9 books. The first 2 are the Adi Lila, as previously explained. Then the next 5 are the Madhya Lila, and the last 2 are the Antya Lila. So the Adi Lila is the first part, the Madhya Lila is the middle part, and the Antya Lila is the last part. So how does the book look on the inside? So this book has been written very meticulously. So it's actually written in Bengali. So in the start there'll be an original Bengali text, and then under that, how to pronounce the Bengali in English. Then what's the word-to-word meaning? So what each Bengali word means, and then the translation. So that's the exact meaning of the Bengali, and then the purport, which is the explanation of the translation. And if you want to read understand how to read the Bengali, there's a Bengali pronunciation guide at the end of the book, which you can try to just read the Bengali.
Wow, the book looks really, really interesting, and thank you for also showing how much more value that there is to the book with other things we can learn from it other than just the stories. And I'm very inspired to actually take the book, seeing this very wonderful presentation. And I'd like to know how that would be possible.
Yeah, so the set of Chaitanya Caritamrita is priceless, so we don't sell these books, but the printing and shipping cost of these books is $99. But we're not here for the money, so you can give whatever comes from your heart. Our main goal is just to preserve the Vedas. And the donations that you give us go towards many different beneficiaries. One way that we use these donations is to print more books so that we can spread the knowledge to more people like yourself. We also place the Vedic books in motels through our Motel Gita program. We've placed thousands of Bhagavad Gitas in motels and hospitals, and they're really happy to receive them. Another way we use the donations is to build Vedic educational institutes such as TOVP, which is the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. Another way we use the donations is to place the books in prisons. And many people that have read the books in prisons have been really happy and have sent back thank you notes, as you can see above in the pictures. And then lastly, we also place the books in libraries so that many people can have access to them.
Thank you. I'll take the book.
Great. So thank you for listening to our presentation.
This is just a tool for you to present, but feel free to add your own experiences and realizations.
Thank you, all of you, Abhiji, Vrinda, Balram, Advait, Geeta, Priya, and Iname. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. Now, we will quickly hear from Ananya. So Ananya is in 3rd grade, and she's just 9-year-old, and she has distributed many Chaitanya Caritamritas just for God Purnima MSF. So Ananya, please, you are there. You can spotlight her. Please share your fun experience. How you did that? How did you distribute 9 Chaitanya Caritamritas?
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Agyati Miranda. Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurami Ritamyena. Tasmai Shri Guruye Namaha. So one day I was in a class in Kameshwaris for a presentation. Then later she asked everyone, how many CC sets do you want to do? In the chat I kept 5. Then later in 1 week I finished 5 CC sets. Later, then I thought maybe I can do more. Then I end up doing 9. So then how did I did it by I called my parents' friends. So then later I just actually did a Zoom call and presented slides for them, and they were happy. They asked for some questions, like they asked, who is Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami? I said that Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami was actually said that if you need to go somewhere, what will you take? So then you have to take a book, one book with the 9 CC, with 9 books. So then it said that 9 take the CC sets, because it is the biography of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually came to teach the whole world the Krishna consciousness. So they also asked maybe do they have to give $99? The shipping and costing is actually free. You don't have to sell, but you don't have to give 99. You can give anything, come from your heart.
Thank you, Ananya. So, what do you think? Was it very difficult presenting and distributing Chaitanya Caritamrita? How was your experience about that? Do you feel challenged?
No, not really. It's just like you have to say the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Thank you so much, Ananya. So when I was talking to Ananya yesterday, I called Mataji and I invited for this presentation. And as Ananya explained, she first when we did a group meeting, and we discussed that we want to distribute Chaitanya Caritamrita, and now Vishika Prabhu has set the goal for the Gaur Purnima, and that's our focus. And then many kids, pledged they want to do at least 1. Ananya said, I want to do 5. And she did 5. After she's done 5, just within few days, she pledged for more. She said, I want to do more. And she was asking her mom to contact more of her friends. And she did 9. And then yesterday she did 9, she just explained. And yesterday when I was talking to her, and I just said, you just have to share what you did. And then we were about to hang up the call, and then she said, Mataji, now I want to do 21. Can you please pray and bless? And then I said, you will definitely do. I'll pray and you'll definitely do. You'll smash your goals, and you can distribute up to the moon. Her desire is very sincere. And kids are very sincere and genuine, and they need support and encouragement from all the parents. So at ISV, all the kids are supported by their parents, They give the opportunity for the kids by being by their side in the calling party while they're making the calls, or they make an appointment with their friends and colleagues or any distant family so that they can present on the Zoom call. So the contacts works very well with the kids because it's somebody known family and somebody who knows their parents, so they can be encouraging. So when kids are beginning, it's really nice to give them this platform. And if you're distributing by yourself, you just ask the kids to tell one story of Lord Chaitanya, make them part of your presentation, make them part of your success, and slowly you will see they will do by themselves. Now the kids they are amazing. They can distribute the Chaitanya Caritamrita all by themselves, and they don't really need. But to begin with, you encourage them, make it part of your effort, and be by their side. So they really can do huge. Yeah. So that's about the kids. Thank you so much. Over to Malini. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kameshwari, and the wonderful presentation by kids. I mean, they present it step by step, so it is very easy to follow. And the same presentation can be used by adults also. The presentation is the same, but the presentation for the adults could be from their own heart. This is very, very helpful. Thank you. And now we have Nandini, Her Grace Nandini Kishori Mataji. She is from Alachua, Florida, and she also helps with organizing our National Sankirtan leader calls for North America. Thank you so much, Nandini Kishori Mataji, for sharing your experiences. Hare Krishna, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, that Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripasandubhyavacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. So Mataji, I want to share my, it was such a sweet presentation. First we heard the bombs dropping, but this felt like, Rasgulla or Gulab Jamun, the kids' presentation. I learned a lot. And I want to share my experiences with ISV. I go there once a year to, my family lives there, biological family, but the real icing on the cake is meeting ISV family. First time I went to Krishna Priya. She's a maybe 2.5 or 3 years old girl. So she came and they were going to give me ride to ISV from house nearby. And she brought me piggy bank and she shook her piggy bank and said something. It was so inaudible, but it was just so cute. I was like, wow. And then her parents said she gives her piggy bank to the temple for book distribution. And she said, Mataji, would you like to make a little donation? And I checked, I didn't have any change. And she kind of just made this small little gesture. And somehow, I had this couple of dollars. I went outside and got her change. And then when we reached the temple, she just ran into ISV kids. They were at the booth near the prasadam outside. And she just ran and then I was really surprised how the kids are united. You don't see such a young kid going on their own and mixing with the friends. They tend to be a little shy, but they just went and she was so happy and she made this donation for the books. And I could see that's the real joy. The kids really love to do this service. And the second time I asked Sukeshwari Mataji, with whom I stayed for a night, I said, how do you do books? And she said, of course, we keep the books in the car. We always read the books every day. And it was very nice advice. And it wouldn't have really stuck unless she told me the next thing. She said, Mataji, Shri Vatsu has been going with Vaisheshika Prabhu on the book distribution for years, since he was very little. And she said, when they don't do books, Prabhu tells them, please chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And the kids chant, and then the books go. And this attachment that Vaisheshika Prabhu has given to books and holy name is so priceless. We are committed for life. And that really, really inspired me to, that example really stuck in my mind. And ISV has always been inspiring, but these experiences, when you actually go there and feel it, they're coming free to your own home now, with these NASLT seminars. And I'm so grateful. It keeps on inspiring, and it helps keep on doing book distribution every day, no matter where you are, whether you're traveling, whether you're with another congregation. There are no boundaries. This is just, this is one family. We are united as a one family. And I'm so grateful to each and everybody on this call for joining, for hearing me out, and giving me this opportunity of your Sangha, and always rekindling that fire. It's easy to drop a bomb, but this really keeps on fan the spark. The spark really makes them explode, and it really helps them make potent. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Nandini Kishori Mataji. Actually, I have to mention this entire idea of having a presentation for Shri Caitanya Caritamrita by kids. That was coming from Nandini Kishori Mataji. She wanted to have this presentation so it could benefit everybody. Initially, we thought it would be just for the North America, but then she said, why don't we open up for everybody so everybody can take advantage of it? So thank you for this idea, Mataji. It was very helpful for everybody. Hare Krishna. And all the slides that the kids just presented will be available to you on the BBT Facebook page, and it will be also posted in the chat for you towards the end, and all the resources will be available. I know that we have a few minutes, we can take 1 or 2 questions. If you like, you can ask any questions, you can put them on the chat, and then we can read them out to you. I see one question about sharing the presentation, and yes, that will be shared. And also please see your chat window where all the information about how to contact is being given there. So there is a question by Omiyo Das Prabhu. He's saying that that a lot of ISKCON initiated devotees do not read Caitanya Caritamrita. In this case, should it be a priority for us to make devotees read CC first? Or what should we do to address that problem? Vaisheshika Prabhu, would you like to answer that question? Oh, Prabhu cannot unmute. Ankulasiva Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. If you read 20 pages of Caitanya Caritamrita every day, then you'll finish the whole thing in a year. So 20 pages is not very much. And one thing you can do is introduce it in your family so that at various times, let's say, for instance, when you're having dinner or snack, or if there's any kind of regular program going on in your house, you can designate somebody to read it out loud. And then have some, like what we do is we put a little sticker in the book and we mark it how many pages to read each day. And when your mind has a goal that I have to finish this, then you'll go for it. And so I walk by the basketball courts every day in my park when I go for my morning walk, and there's a little hoop. Everyone decided in the world that this hoop would be a regulation size and it would be just this high. It's the same for everybody in every country, Italy, Germany, whatever, same basketball hoop. And everyone stands there all day long from morning till night, and they try to put the ball in the hoop. So if you put a little marker in your book, it'll change your life. I'll show you really quick. If you take any book like this, Bhagavatam, and you see the stickers, this is an arrow, and at the end of the arrow is the goal, 41. So 41 pages of Bhagavatam every day, and you'll finish in 1 year. 20 pages of Caitanya Caritamrita, you finish in 1 year. And so just pick a number, anything that's more than 0 and not less than 1, and then read it every day. And if you start distributing before you've read the whole thing, there's no harm, because what'll happen is you'll get inspired to read it because someone will ask you questions, and there's no limit to the number of times you can read it. And so I recommend that. Be very pragmatic and try to break it down into small parts and just read the whole thing and be happy.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Next question is by Ganapati Govinda Prabhu. He's asking if we receive any testimonials, those who have taken CC sets. We do, some, we have them, and we will share them as part of the resources that will be available after the call through the email. The next question is Prem Vilas Das Prabhu, and his question is, what is the first step in setting up children's book distribution party? So Kameshwari, would you like to give a brief answer, like something on that? Thank you.
Sure, Malini. So when you like to set up a Kids Sankirtan team, it is good to start with a meeting with basically a discussion with the parents. Involve the parents, discuss with them, and then it can be followed up by a orientation for the kids and parents both, but mainly how to present books. And it can align with your goals of your local temple. Then it creates a lot of energy in the team. And that is just a basic couple of points. But I would be happy to discuss more in detail. So if you can, contact Prabhuji, so that is something we can do.
Thank you, Kameshwari. Thank you very much. The next question is from Manjula Kanta Mataji. She says that we approach Indians. Sometimes they say we don't understand all this. It's Bengali. We are reading our own saints and our own books. God is all the same, right? Is it still Krishna? How do we jump over that hurdle?
Who's answering?
Prabhu, you can take it.
You should answer. How do you, because you run into that all the time. Why don't you say?
It doesn't matter which language it is. A lot of people don't even know Sanskrit. And at the same time, you can learn a new language if you like. Bengali is something that you can add to your repertoire. That's very few people ask that actually, but they like to learn a new language too. And anyway, the Sanskrit, the translation is available in English also. So
that analogy that Prabhupada brought up about Bengali sweets is nice, because analogy is a thought bridge. And if you bring an analogy, a good analogy, then it shortcuts the whole thought process. And so in a case like that, you could also mention that spiritual life is about variety. And the more variety is, the sweeter it is. And so this is, you can give the analogy, Bhagavatam's like, nectar, this is like camphor, then there's ambrosia when you mix the two, and also Bengali sweets, like, rasgulla and, rabri, and these sweets, this is like, it has a special flavor that you can relish. Even though God's one, he has many aspects.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. The next question is from Frank Prabhu. I'm from Germany. The Caitanya Caritamrita in German is rare. Can we alternatively take the teachings of Lord Chaitanya? How do you recommend that book?
TLC is an excellent, it's like a PhD thesis. If you read it from cover to cover, you'll find that Prabhupada did not leave out anything. It's a miracle how he did that, actually. Miraculously written. It starts with the simplest principles and it ends with the most esoteric. And if anybody gets a TLC, they've got enough to restart the Hare Krishna movement and teach everything Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. So if you can get into that, if that's what you can get, that's a good thing to present, and just pick a few basic principles that the people can apply in their own lives. That's from the CC, and point it out that this will change the narrative of your life through these ancient teachings, and you'll have a better life, and so will your kids.
Prabhu, there are multiple questions. I think they're all the same theme. They're asking that, do we, like growing up, they heard that, Caitanya Caritamrita should only be read after reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Is that how it's supposed to be? That, or can we read Caitanya Caritamrita before reading Bhagavatam?
Yeah, Prabhupada said that wherever you taste in these books, it's sweet. He said it's like a sugar doll. Any place you taste it is sweet. It's like a donut. Any side you taste it from is going to be sweet. It's just a matter of sometimes people don't have the frame of reference if they're very new, but there's no harm. It's not like a hard and fast rule that you can't touch it, you can't open it. Try it and see what happens. You might find yourself absorbed and then you can't put it down again. And if that's the case, there's no problem. There's not going to be any injury, that's for sure.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. And Her Grace Gopapatni Prabhu has raised the hand. Prabhu, would you like to go ahead to ask your question?
Thank you very much, but it was answered.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining.
Jaya Prabhupada.
Mr. Prabhupada. Okay, I think I don't see any other questions on the chat. Thank you, everybody, for joining this session today. And we just wanted to make an announcement that the presentations that were shared today and any other further questions on training, you can contact us by the email. In the chat window, you can see the email that you can go with. And also you can join the WhatsApp or Telegram broadcast groups link in the chat to stay in touch. And for the upcoming events, there is going to be a special session that is coming up to learn about the history of Caitanya Caritamrita in our movement with His Holiness Devamrita Swami Maharaj and His Grace Rameshwar Prabhu. And we have the Be a Gardener goals that would be presented on the slide. Just a second. Ankula Seva Prabhu. Yeah. So these are our goals for Be a Gardener campaign, to read and share at least one verse from Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, to listen to at least one Srila Prabhupada's lecture on Sri Caitanya Caritamrita. A suggested one is Adi Leela 1.4 from 1975 in Mayapur. And please tag us and use Be a Gardener. And there's also a third one, to take an inventory of your Sri Caitanya Caritamrita sets. And the more you show, the more you sell. Make at least one set of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita available and visible. And to inaugurate at least 10 additional monthly Sankirtan festivals globally. Please tag us and use Be a Gardener tag. And we would like to thank everybody who presented today. Please participate in distribution of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita. Thank you so much. Vaisheshika Prabhu, would you like to say anything, concluding words?
Everyone, dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, dear Sri Panchatattva, Sri Radha Govinda, Radha Gopinath, Radha Madan Mohan, Sri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please empower our global team to work together to continue the work of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and our acharyas headed by Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Please empower us to assist them in amazing ways so that we can cover the world with spiritual knowledge, and so everyone can taste the sweetness of spiritual life. Let us embrace the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita the way it was embraced by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and our Srila Prabhupada, and taste its content and distribute it like mad men and women all over the world without considering who is a fit or unfit candidate. Thank you very much for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in part or in whole, please unmute and say Nitai Gauranga.
Nitai Gauranga.
Nitai Gauranga.
Hari Bol.
Haribol.